Blood dripping, helmet cracked, I lay on the asphalt after my motorcycle skidded out at 40 miles per hour. In there, shaking, I called my parents for help covering surgery. My dad didn't even hesitate. "We already helped your sister. She matters, you'll figure it out." My mom whispered, "Don't guilt us." That's when everything inside me hardened forever. I'm 29, and 3 months ago, I realized I wasn't my parents' son. I was just collateral damage in their obsession with my younger sister, Marla. Here's how it all spiraled. It was a Friday night in late spring. I was riding home from work on my old Yamaha when a drunk driver clipped my back wheel. My bike fishtailed, and I slammed onto the pavement. I remember the scream of brakes, the smell of burning rubber, and then blackness. When I opened my eyes, I was in there, hooked up to IVs, left leg mangled. The doctor told me my femur was shattered, infection had already set in, and I needed immediate surgery or I might lose the leg. Insurance covered only half. I needed $12,000 upfront. I had no choice. I called my parents. My dad picked up, his tone flat, almost annoyed. "Tough timing. We just helped Marla last month with her business." "What business?" I asked, voice trembling. "She wanted to launch her clothing line. We gave her nearly everything we had in savings. Can't you just use a credit card or something?" I gripped the phone so hard my knuckles cracked. "Dad, I'm not asking for a vacation. I could lose my leg." Silence. Then my mom's voice. Cut through, cold clipped. "Don't guilt us. You can't save everyone. Your sister's got potential. She just needs a push. You'll survive." The monitor beat faster as my pulse spiked. My leg burned like fire. And in that moment, my parents showed me exactly where I stood. Nowhere. I ended the call with a calm I didn't recognize in myself. "Thanks for the clarity," I said. Then I hung up. That night, my college friend Travis showed up. He'd heard about the crash from a mutual buddy. He took one look at me, tubes and all, and muttered, "Man, they didn't come. Not even for this." I shook my head. "Nope, Marla's fashion dreams needed funding." Travis clenched his fists. "Unbelievable. You've been busting your back for years. And she gets bailed out for chasing TikTok trends." I laughed, though. It hurt. Apparently, she's got a future. I'm just a burden. Travis leaned in close, eyes sharp. "Then stop playing nice. If they won't treat you like family, stop protecting them like family." Something about those words stuck. After surgery, while I was stuck in a rehab center, I had time. Time to think. Time to remember. Time to replay every slight. Every not now. Every time my sister got the golden treatment while I was left to figure life out alone. Marla got braces. I got told to tough it out. Marla wrecked her first car. They bought her another. I bought my own bike with overtime shifts. When she dropped out of college, they called her creative. When I graduated, they didn't even show up to the ceremony because Marla was having a hard week. I'd always brushed it off. I told myself I was stronger, more independent. But lying in that rehab bed, metal rods holding my bones together, I finally saw it clearly. They didn't just prefer her. They had written me off. And once you know where you stand, you start planning differently. I began gathering pieces of their world I'd ignored before. Little details Marla bragged about on Instagram. Dad co-signed my studio lease. Mom added me on her credit card. Her endless stream of posts flaunting designer outfits while whining about toxic bosses. I remembered overhearing my parents whisper about borrowing against the house to give her a real chance. They had tied themselves to her future so tightly, I wondered if they even realized it wasn't a lifeboat. It was an anchor. The anger I felt in that hospital bed didn't fade. It crystallized. And for the first time in my life, I didn't want to win their approval. I wanted them to feel what I had felt lying on that cold hospital gurney, discarded and worthy, replaceable. The plan wasn't formed yet, but the seed had been planted. They thought they had picked the child with the future, but soon, they'd learn what it feels like when the one you labeled a burden decides to stop carrying your secrets. I left rehab walking with a cane and a scar that would never let me forget that night. My body healed slower than my mind, though, because the bitterness hardened into something sharp. Travis was the one who dropped the idea without even realizing it. We were grabbing coffee one afternoon, and he said, "You know, Marla's hosting some kind of launch party, rented a downtown loft, invited press, influencers, the whole circus. She's bragging like she's already famous." I nearly spit out my drink. "With what money?" He shrugged. "Your folks. Who else?" I heard they even co-signed a loan for her to pull it off. She's calling it her defining moment. The words made my pulse quicken. My sister's so-called defining moment was going to be the perfect storm. The money she didn't earn, the image she couldn't sustain, and the parents who bet everything on her. I smiled. For the first time in weeks, it wasn't forced. The night of the event, Travis convinced me to show up. "You've got to see this train wreck," he said. I hesitated, but curiosity dragged me there. The loft was buzzing with chatter, neon lights flashing, Marla strutting around in clothes she hadn't even designed. She was posing for selfies. Her voice pitched higher than usual, squealing whenever someone recognized her from Instagram. My parents hovered nearby like nervous investors, beaming every time someone complimented their talented daughter. I leaned against the wall, cane in hand, and just watched. That's when the first crack showed. A vendor stormed in, demanding payment for catering. "We never got the deposit," he barked. My mom rushed forward, whispering promises, fumbling for her checkbook. My dad looked pale. Then another vendor, the lighting company, cornered Marla. "We need the balance today, or we're shutting this down." Marla froze. Her perfect Instagram smile faltered. "My parents will handle it," she stammered, shoving the problem onto them. And I realized something huge. She hadn't actually paid for half of this. She had been floating invoices, betting on future sales that didn't exist. Travis nudged me. "Dude, this is gold." The chaos spread like fire. Lights flickered off and on. Caterers packed up trays mid-party. Guests whispered, phones recording everything. And my sister's big moment turned into a public unraveling. I could have walked away, satisfied to see her sweat. But then opportunity landed right in my lap. One of the vendors, a photographer I vaguely recognized, pulled me aside. "Hey, aren't you her brother? Look. She promised me full payment for tonight's shoot. She said you're the reliable one in the family." "Can you confirm, reliable?" That word cut deep, but it also lit a fuse. I lowered my voice. "If she told you that, she lied. And if I were you, I'd get everything in writing before handing over files. My parents co-signed a lot of her stuff. You might want to look into that." The photographer's eyebrows shot up. "Wait, so the parents are liable?" I just gave a slow nod and walked away. It wasn't sabotage. Not really. It was truth. Truth, finally set free. By the end of the night, Marla's reputation had taken a hit. Whispers spread online. Hashtags mocking her Fox fashion empire started trending locally. And behind closed doors, my parents were arguing with her in panicked voices, trying to figure out how to cover the fallout. Travis and I slipped out into the cool night air, laughter bubbling out of him. "Man, you didn't even have to do anything." She lit herself on fire, but I wasn't laughing. My mind was racing. If a single failed event could shake their world this badly, what would happen if creditors started connecting dots? What would happen if every person she owed money to realized my parents weren't just investors, they were guarantors? For the first time since the accident, I felt powerful. 2 weeks later, the first domino fell. A boutique owner went public, blasting Marla for bouncing checks. My parents scrambled to hush it up, even offering refunds out of their own pockets. But word spread fast, faster than they could cover. And then came the letter. I found it in my parents' mailbox when I stopped by and announced a legal notice from a collections agency, naming both Marla and my father as liable for unpaid debts. My dad's face when he opened it read, trembling hands. Muttering "this isn't happening" was burned into my brain. I said nothing, just watched. Later that night, my mom called me, her voice breaking for the first time in years. "We may need to lean on you for a little help, just until this storm passes." The irony nearly made me laugh out loud. I thought of my shattered leg, the words "we can't save you both," the silence when I begged them for help. And in that moment, I decided they would get no lifeline from me. Not anymore. The letter was just the beginning. Once one creditor got a whiff of weakness, the rest smelled blood. Within weeks, envelopes piled up on my parents' kitchen counter read stamped notices, collection threats, legal warnings. Marla pretended not to notice. She sat on the couch scrolling Instagram, posting selfies with captions like "boss babe energy" while the walls of debt closed in around her. The irony was sickening. I dropped by one afternoon, cane tapping the floor, and found my dad shredding bills in the garage like that would erase them. My mom was on the phone, voice trembling, begging someone for an extension. And Marla, she was painting her nails neon pink, humming along to some pop song. "Are you serious?" I snapped, my voice louder than I intended. "People are knocking on this door for money you don't have, and you're doing this." She looked up, smirked, and shrugged. "Relax. Mom and Dad always fix things. They'll fix this too." That line nearly broke me. Always fix things. The same people who told me, while I bled in a hospital bed, that I wasn't worth saving. My laugh came out bitter, sharp. "Yeah, Marla, they'll fix it. Except this time, maybe they can't." Her face faltered for half a second, then she rolled her eyes. "You're just jealous." "Jealous? Of what? Watching my parents torch their retirement on her fantasy empire. Sitting in collections hell while she strutted around like an influencer with no bills. It was almost funny, almost. That night, Travis called. His voice was buzzing with excitement. Bro, you're not gonna believe this. Some of Marla's vendors started vending online. Screenshots. Receipts. The whole internet's eating her alive. I pulled up my phone and saw it. Threads roasting her as a scammer. TikToks mocking her fake fashion show. Comments tearing apart her brand. My stomach twisted with a dark mix of satisfaction and disgust. Travis chuckled. And guess what? People are mentioning your parents too. Words getting around they're tied to her debts. This thing's going nuclear. Nuclear was right. The next morning, my dad showed up at my door. Face gray, shirt wrinkled, eyes bloodshot. He looked 20 years older. Son, we need a loan. Just something temporary. We're in a bind. I stood there, leaning on my cane, feeling the weight of his words. A loan. From me. After everything, I let him speak, nodding slowly, until he finally muttered, family helps family. The Ernie nearly choked me. Family helps family. I repeated. Like when I called from there and you told me I wasn't worth saving. That kind of family. His mouth opened, closed. No words, just shame in his eyes. I didn't slam the door. I didn't yell. I just stepped back and said, good luck, then closed it gently. The sound of him exhaling on the other side lingered. Longer than it should have. The fallout only accelerated. Marla's studio landlord threatened eviction. Her car loan defaulted. My parents juggled 3 different payment plans, burning through secret savings accounts they hadn't even told me about. Every day was another fire. Every fire was bigger than the last dot, and the best part, I didn't even have to light the matches. She did it herself, but that didn't mean I couldn't pour gasoline. With Travis's help, I began nudging the right people. Anonymous tips to creditors about assets my parents still held. Gentle reminders that the co-signers weren't broke at all, they just preferred bailing out one child while ignoring the other. Nothing false, nothing illegal, just inconvenient truths. The wolves came faster. One night, around midnight, my phone buzzed. Marla, screaming through sobs. You ruined me. You've been talking to people. I know it's you. I held the phone away, letting her words hit the air. Then I spoke softly, calm as ice. Did I make you max out your cards? Did I force you to lie to vendors? Did I crash your party? No, Marla. You did that all by yourself. She went silent, just heavy breathing, broken by little gasps. Then she hung up. The calls didn't stop, though. My parents started leaving voicemails. Long ones, desperate ones. My mom crying, begging for just a little help. My dad swearing they'd pay me back, promising they'd change. Relatives joined in too, guilt-tripping me about forgiveness and blood ties. But every time I heard the words family or forgive, my mind flashed back to my dad's flat voice saying, she matters, you don't. That memory became my shield. And while they drowned in debts of their own making, I thrived. My consulting business doubled in clients. My recovery was nearly complete. Travis and I laughed over beers as I told him about the latest family meltdown. He leaned in, grinning. You realize you've become the villain in their story. Right, I smirked. Good. Every story needs one. By the time summer rolled in, the family was drowning, creditors circling, vendors blasting Marla all nine. My parents stretched thinner than wet paper. That's when Marla pulled the stunt. She called me out of nowhere, voice sugary sweet. The kind she used when she wanted something. Big bro, I'm planning a comeback. A fashion show in the park, totally free. Press, cameras, live music. It's going to prove everyone wrong. I almost dropped my phone. With what money? She giggled. Sponsors, investors. Don't worry, I've got it handled. I didn't believe her for a second, but curiosity made me say, good luck. Travis cackled when I told him, this is gonna be epic. We're going. The day arrived. Like a bad dream. The park was strewn with cheap fairy lights, folding chairs in crooked rows, a rented stage that looked like it would collapse if someone sneezed. And there, center stage, was Marla dressed head to toe in sequins, strutting like a celebrity. My parents sat in the front row, clapping like trained seals. The crowd was small. Mostly teenagers chasing free entertainment, but Marla acted like it was New York Fashion Week. Then the first disaster hit. The sponsors she bragged about, they didn't exist. The DJ demanded cash before playing a single song. The models, just her friends in mismatched outfits, argued backstage about not being paid. And the clothes, half were thrift store finds with tags still on. Travis leaned over, whispering, dude, this is a funeral, not a fashion show. And then came the real explosion. Halfway through The projector she'd rented lit up with a slideshow supposed to showcase her design sketches. Instead, the screen glitched. And what appeared wasn't sketches, it was screenshots, emails, invoices, bounce checks, angry messages from vendors, bank statements showing overdrafts. Even texts where she bragged about conning dumb suppliers into waiting for payments. The crowd gasped. Phones shot up, recording every second. Marla froze, eyes wide, sequins sparkling under the lights like a deer in headlights. She scrambled to unplug the projector, but it was too late. The damage was done. People booed. Some laughed outright. Vendors in the crowd shouted, "Scammer! Thief!" My parents bolted to the stage, trying to shield her, but the chant grew louder. "Fraud! Fraud!" I sat in the back row, heart pounding, half in shock, half in savage awe. I hadn't planned this. I didn't know who did it, but someone had decided to burn her empire down in front of everyone. Marla broke. She grabbed the mic, screaming, "This is a setup. They're lying. I'm a visionary. You're all jealous." Her voice cracked. The crowd roared back with laughter. Then unbelievably she collapsed to her knees, sobbing into the microphone. "Mommy, Daddy, fix this, fix this." The image of my 30-year-old sister begging for rescue like a child while strangers filmed her meltdown burned into my brain forever. My dad tried to pull her off stage. My mom screamed at the crowd to stop recording, but the phones didn't lower. If anything, more went up. Within hours, the videos were online. By morning, Marla's breakdown had gone viral. Local designer exposed, fashion show disaster ends in meltdown, parents fund fraudster daughter. The internet tore her apart. Memes, jokes, hashtags. She became a punchline overnight. My phone buzzed nonstop. Travis sent clip after clip, laughing so hard he could barely breathe. "This is insane. Dude, your sister just became the fireworks show no one asked for." But my parents, they didn't laugh. They showed up at my house 2 days later, broken, hollow. My mom's makeup smeared, my dad's shoulders sagging. "It's over," he whispered. "The creditors are demanding full payment now. They know we're tied to everything. We could lose the house." I looked at them, really looked. These were the same people who told me, not long ago, that saving me wasn't worth it. And now they wanted me to save them. The irony was almost poetic. "I'm sorry you're going through this," I said, voice flat. "But you made your choice." My mom grabbed my arm, tears streaming. "Please, we'll do anything. Just help us." I pulled away. "You already taught me how this works. You can't save everyone." Their faces crumbled. My dad muttered something under his breath about regret, but I didn't listen. I closed the door. Inside, Travis sat on my couch, watching the viral meltdown. For the 50th time, he looked up, smirked. "So what's next?" And that was the moment I realized the stunt wasn't the end. It was just the middle act. The real collapse was still coming. After the meltdown in the park, things spiraled faster than I thought possible. Creditors stopped being polite. They showed up at the house, banging on doors, shouting through windows. My once proud parents hid behind curtains like fugitives. Marla refused to come outside. She lived in pajamas, eyes red, screaming at anyone who mentioned the video. She swore it was sabotage. She swore she was the victim. She swore. Until the real secret came out. It started with a letter. Another one. But not just another bill. I found it by accident. My dad had left his briefcase in the trunk of his car, half open. A legal envelope peeked out. I pulled it, curiosity biting. Inside was paperwork from a bank. Not about Marla's clothing line, not about loans, about fraud, and not just hers. The document showed joint accounts. My parents had been funneling money in Marla's name for years. Shady loans, applications with inflated income, false signatures, co-signed papers with numbers that didn't add up. At first, I thought maybe it was sloppy accounting. But then I saw my father's signature on an application claiming Marla made 6 figures. My mother's initials beside a forged tax form. I froze. This wasn't just favoritism. It wasn't just bailing her out. They had built her entire future on lies. And worse, they were complicit. When I confronted them, it was like setting off a bomb. I stormed into the living room, tossed the envelope onto the coffee table. "Care to explain this?" My dad's face drained of color. My mom stammered, "You weren't supposed to see that." "Supposed to see what?" I snapped. "That you've been lying to banks, that you committed fraud to prop up Marla's fantasy life. That's not favoritism anymore, it's criminal." Marla, curled on the couch with a blanket, "Shut up, don't say that. You don't understand." "Understand what?" I yelled. "That every time you failed, they bent the rules, that they risked their retirement, their house, their names for you, while I was left to rot in a hospital bed." The room went dead silent. My mom finally broke. She whispered. We did it because she's fragile. She wouldn't survive on her own. I laughed. Loud, bitter, fragile. She's 30 years old. She's a con artist in sequins. And you're her accomplices. My dad slammed his fist on the table. Enough. She needed us. You never did. That line hit harder than any car, harder than the asphalt that shattered my leg. You never did. I stared at him, my voice low, shaking. You're right. I never needed you. But I asked once. Just once. And you left me for dead. No one moved. No one breathed. The weight of their secret pressed down on the room. Travis was the first to break the silence. He had been standing by the door, listening, eyes wide. You realize this is felony stuff, right? If the banks catch wind, they're done. My parents snapped their heads toward him like startled deer. You can't tell anyone, my mom pleaded. Please. This would destroy us. Destroy them. They had destroyed themselves the moment they chose lies over honesty. Marlo over me. I gathered the papers, slipped them back into the envelope. Don't worry, I said, voice dripping with sarcasm. Your secret's safe. For now. But it wasn't safe. Not really. Because now I held the match, and the house was already soaked in gasoline. The fallout was immediate. My parents begged. They cried. My mom called daily, whispering apologies. My dad tried bargaining, offering me pieces of property, promises of inheritance. Marla screamed that I was ruining her life by even threatening to expose them. But the truth, they had ruined themselves years ago. And I realized something chilling. All I had to do was nothing. Absolutely nothing. Their secret was a time bomb. The creditors were already sniffing around. One wrong question, one nosy investigator, and everything they'd built on fraud would collapse. I didn't have to destroy them. They'd done it themselves. I just had to let the world see it. The secret didn't stay buried. How could it? A family built on lies eventually crumbles under its own weight. It started small. An investigator from one of the banks called my dad for clarification. I overheard him stammering into the phone, sweat pouring down his forehead. Days later, another notice arrived. This one wasn't just a demand for payment. It was a summons. Fraud, forgery, potential charges. The house, the retirement. Their precious reputations, everything was now in the crosshairs. I should have felt sorry, but I didn't. Not after what they did to me. Not after they chose Marla's fantasy over my life. The night it all exploded, I'll never forget. Marla had convinced my parents to throw one last comeback dinner at their house, inviting close friends, relatives, anyone who might still believe in her. She wanted to prove everything was under control. A desperate PR stunt in a living room. Travis begged me to come. You've got to see the circus finale, he said, grinning. So I went. The table was set like a wedding, candles, wine, expensive food they clearly couldn't afford. Marla appeared in a sparkly gown like she was about to walk a red carpet. My parents greeted guests with forced smiles, their eyes sunken with exhaustion. It was all smoke and mirrors. Halfway through dinner, the knock came. 3 sharp raps at the door. My dad stiffened. My mom's wine glass rattled. 2 men in suits walked in, badges flashing. Bank investigators. They didn't care about the food or the candles. They cared about documents. About signatures. About lies. The room froze. Mr. and Mrs. Collins, one said, voice steady. We need to speak with you regarding fraudulent loan applications linked to your daughter's business. Gasps. Whispers. Relatives wide-eyed. Phone slid out under the table. Recording. Marla bolted up. This is harassment. I'm an artist. The investigator barely looked at her. He dropped a folder of evidence onto the table. Papers spilled out. Fake incomes, forged tax returns, co-signed loans stacked like a tower of deceit. I saw my dad's hands tremble. My mom's lip quivered. And then it happened. My father turned to me. Desperation etched into every wrinkle. Please, son, say something. Tell them we're good people. Tell them this isn't who we are. The room stared at me. Every face waiting. I stood slowly, leaning on my cane, heart pounding. Good people, I said, voice sharp enough to cut glass. Good people don't leave their son bleeding in a hospital bed because they'd rather fund their daughter's shopping spree. Good people don't choose favorites and call their own child a burden. Good people don't lie, cheat, and drag everyone down with them. My words hit like bombs. Guests gasped. Relatives shifted uncomfortably. Marla's eyes welled up, mascara streaking. I kept going. You wanted me silent, invisible, disposable. Well, congratulations. You got your wish, because now I'm done, and I'm not saving you. My mom collapsed into tears. My dad buried his face in his hands. Marla screamed, you ruined us. I turned to her, my voice low. Calm, final. No, Marla, you ruined yourself. And they helped. Silence swallowed the room. The investigators gathered their papers. My parents sat in ruin, surrounded by the very people they had once bragged to about their talented daughter. Travis clapped slowly. "Show's over," he muttered, smirking. I walked out, cane tapping against the floor, not looking back. By morning, the story was everywhere. Local news picked it up. Family fraud exposed. Clips from dinner leaked online. My parents' names plastered across headlines. Marla's meltdown replayed on endless loops. Their house went into foreclosure within weeks. Investigations mounted. Their circle of friends shrank overnight. And Marla, she became a ghost. Her once daily Instagram posts vanished. Her fashion empire reduced to a meme. And me, I thrived. My business tripled. Clients respected me. Travis remained my right-hand man. My leg healed, though the scar still burns, sometimes a reminder of where it all began. Do I feel guilty? No, because guilt is for people who owed something, and I owed them nothing. Sometimes I replay that hospital call in my head, the moment my dad said, "She matters, you don't." That sentence forged me into who I am now, stronger, colder, and touchable. Now when my phone rings and their numbers flash across the screen, I let it go to voicemail. Always. Because the truth is simple. They taught me family love was conditional. They taught me survival means choosing who gets saved. They taught me I was worthless. And now they get to live with the lessons they wrote. Explosive endings aren't accidents. They're consequences. That's the end of today's story. Did things turn out the way you thought? Or were there some surprises along the way? Share your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear what you think. If you enjoyed this journey, don't forget to hit the like button. And if you haven't joined the community yet, now's the perfect time. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you're always the first to catch new stories. Thanks for watching. And I'll see you in the next adventure. ***.